Hey guys, it's the WalterFootball.com After Dark show for October 24th, 2024. We're going to be doing the Week 8 Fantasy Football Rundown show. We're going to go over every game from last week, fantasy football reactions to them. And if you guys have any questions, just let us know. We'll answer them. So before we intro our lovely co-host for this evening, please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share this video, visit the link in the description for the merch store. As you can see, Kenny is wearing the money laundering shirt that we have right here. I am wearing the 801 shirt, so we're both wearing Walter Football merch. And I'm pleased to introduce our new shirt, which is Slava NFL. I kind of teased this before, where I asked Grok to make an NFL logo with Slava NFL on it. So we're going to troll Roger Goodell and get him to put an NFL game in Ukraine. We're going to say, Roger, why don't you support Ukraine? Why do you hate Ukraine? And we're going to do it enough so he has games in Ukraine. It says on the back, play NFL games in Ukraine. So we're going to do that. It costs a little bit more because there's writing on the back, but I think I'm going to make another version without the writing in back just so it's cheaper. It's only like $5 more than usual, but still, like, the other shirts are around $17 to $19. There's a 20% off sale. So all that would help us out quite a bit. Also, super chat, super stickers. We had a super chat from John Sanders yesterday. Also, recently Slew, Germ, Can't Make an Eagle, Andrew Z, and of course in the past, Degeneron, Kevin Kovac, and Cassandra, of course. All that would help us out a lot. The contributions mean so much because these YouTube ads pay nothing. So that's the way to keep the show going. Also, consider going to Amazon, buying my books. I have 3 books. The most recent one is Jerks to the College Years, where I make fun of people at Penn State. Spent 6 years there, so I had a lot of material. And then How the 2020 MVP Was Stolen. That was the second book I've written. There's also Safety and a Field Goal as well. So we are joined tonight by Kenny. The cap is fake. Kenny, how's it going?
Living the dream, doing great. Loving this t-shirt. It's fantastic. Fantasy teams are doing great, except I did get knocked out of I'm in a fantasy survivor league every year. I got knocked out after week 7. It's the earliest I've been knocked out in the last couple of years. But anyway,
can you explain fantasy survivor for those who don't know?
Oh yeah, so the league I'm in is a 17-team league, very large team, very large league, and basically the way we do it is the first 5 weeks everyone's in, and then after 5 weeks we knock out 7 teams. The lowest 7 scoring teams are out. So then there's 10 teams left, and then for the next 10 weeks the lowest scoring team every week is gone. So we go from 10 to 9 to 8 to 7 all the way down. Through the first 5 weeks, I was the highest scoring team in the league. Week 6, I was the second highest scoring. And then in week 7, I was the lowest scoring team and got knocked out. So over the first 7 weeks, I was the highest scoring team in the NFL, in the league. And yet only one, you have to just not be the worst team every week to survive. So I'm out.
So it doesn't accumulate points? Like, you're just playing week to week at that point?
It's week to week to that point.
That's brutal. So you gotta watch out for your bye weeks then. It's pretty rough.
So you have to, yeah, it's brutal. Lineups lock at Thursday 6 p.m.
Wow.
And they don't, yeah. And so if you have a player that's like all of a sudden that's injured or out, you take a goose egg. So anyway. So
which players cost you?
Let me see. Let me pull up my roster here. The worst player, I had David Montgomery in one league,
yeah.
but I have Gibbs in our league, so so that was good. I do have Tyreek Hill in that league, so the fact that I was still the highest scoring, I basically not played him in weeks, so that was a waste of a first round pick. That was exciting. Let's see the other guys I've had. I've got Brandon Ayuk on that team. That's exciting. My quarterback has been Matthew Stafford. I feel like there's some other guys that probably were terrible. Although I had Joe Mixon on that team, Alvin Kamara on that team. That's the reason why I was. Alvin Kamara laid a goose egg this week, so that was a part of it. I actually have him in our league as well. So I actually have him I'm in 3 leagues, 2 regular, and then this Survivor league. I had Kamara in all 3 leagues. He's part of the reason why I was the number 1 scoring team. But anyway, I'm out. So other than that, life is great.
Kenny should have played Alec Ingold. We'll get to that. I actually took Kamara in a best ball draft today. I had at 209. I took him.
I think it's great.
Yeah, I was surprised he was there. I usually don't get him because he's been going in the first round, but recent circumstances have dropped his ADP a little bit. So yeah, I got him at 209.
How about this other ridiculous thing that happened to me this week? Should it be here's another ridiculous thing that happened to me this week. So I had Juwan Jennings in our league, pretty much since after week 1.
Yep.
I had him. I played him against you, and he went off, scored 36 points. Helped me beat you a couple weeks back. That was great. But then he's been laying goose at 2 points, 3 points, 2 points, 3 points. He has sucked. So then I finally cut him. And then what happens? Ayuk gets hurt. Juwan Jennings is the guy again. I put a waiver claim in, but who gets Juwan Jennings instead of me?
I don't know who.
WalterFootball.com. Walter Football is.
Of course.
So I literally just cut him. I cut him literally Sunday morning, or was it? It was Saturday morning. Maybe I cut him. Anyway, I cut him this weekend, and he's out.
Well, it's nice revenge I got there. You shouldn't have beat me so much. If you let me win that week, I wouldn't have gotten him. There you go.
This is why Fab needs to be. I hate the waiver system. I want Fab. So we still don't have Fab in that league, but that's all right.
We're never getting a Fab in that league. I hate to break it to you, we're never getting it.
The commissioner hates Fab. He hates the idea of Fab.
Well, I feel like we never have any change. It took us like a decade to get Flex.
Yeah, it's true.
We're never getting Fab, I can promise you. PPR league, Geno Smith. I love PPR. Geno Smith or Sam Darnold. Flipping Daniels went down. That's pretty rough. So this week you have Geno Smith versus the Bills. Not a great matchup. You have Sam Darnold versus the Rams. A better matchup. I would say Sam Darnold. Geno might not have DK Metcalf, so that's pretty rough.
Yeah,
so, yeah, I'd rather go Darnold. What do you think?
It's close. I think Geno has more upside than Darnold, though. Like, I trust that he could go off in a way that Darnold. That might be true. I take that back. Yeah, maybe a slight nod to Darnold, but I think you can make. Yeah. I think Geno's got the potential, he's got the upside potential. What I was going to say is that he's he could go off, but really, when has Geno Smith ever gone off? Let's be honest. So.
I think John's saying it might be a shootout with the Bills. I think if Geno had Metcalf, I think you could definitely make a case for it. But the fact that Metcalf's probably going to be out this week, I would say Darnold. And Vikings Rams might be a shootout too.
Yeah, but Darnold's also playing on Thursday night, which those games can be depressed a little bit. I think I might give Smith a slight edge.
Yeah. It's fair enough. It is close. It is close. So, all right. Let's get to. Hold on. So, Evan says doesn't like Geno in the rain. I did not look at the weather forecast yet. I usually look at the weather on Friday just because it changes so much.
That's true.
So yeah, if it's raining, apparently Geno doesn't like the rain, as Evan Daniel said. So that could be a knock toward Geno as well. So
I don't like the rain.
Oh yeah, I actually apparently I had a township meeting last night, and some guy was like, "Oh, we're on record pace for a drought here." I'm like, "Really? I didn't even notice." Sure if you say so. All right, let's get to these games, and yeah, you guys can keep asking questions as we do this. So the Thursday night game from last week, we had Broncos 33, Saints 10. It was really 33-3 until the final seconds. Spencer, the Silver Snake Rattler, went down. Jay Kaner stepped in, and he threw a garbage time touchdown. But we had Spencer Rattler 185.5 under passing yards. And it was a little scary there at the end, but the injury saved us. So Alvin Kamara did nothing. 7 carries, 10 yards, but he was kind of scripted out of the game, and Denver has a great defense. So I think it's a good time to buy low on Kamara. He did have 6 catches for 14 yards, so PPR, you got some help there. But he's going to have better offensive line help. It sounds like 2 of their blockers are going to come back this week. Now it's not a great matchup against the Chargers, but still there's going to be better blocking. So I do think Kamara's going to play better. So, like I said, buy low. As far as Denver's concerned, Bo Nix, he won the game, but he did not play well. He missed several open receivers. He had 2 interceptions that were potentially dropped. But still, he has 75 rushing yards. So, like, he's going to get there fantasy-wise just because he runs the ball so much. Javonte Williams ran all over the Saints, but so did Sean Tucker the week before. So, I wouldn't read too much into that. The Saints can't tackle at all. Like where I said Kamara's a buy low, I think Williams is a sell high. And then as far as Denver receivers are concerned, Vele was a huge disappointment because I also had Vele over 31.5 receiving yards. He had like 2 gains of like 15 yards negated by penalties. It's so frustrating. But otherwise, you had like Lucas Kroll, Troy Franklin. Like none of these guys are appealing. Cortland Sutton's the only guy you want, and he had 0 catches because he got the Marshawn Lattimore treatment. So any thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I mean, you've said everything there. Javonte Williams is an interesting character right now. And, he's looked terrible for long stretches this year. There have been moments in the year where like the offense has been productive, somewhat productive, and he's like had opportunities, but he still sucks. So it's like, okay, in this game, it could be maybe just, okay, maybe it was just the Saints defense or the situation. Like, last week ago, I dogged on Javonte Williams pretty good. I pretty much told him, said he sucked. I think I compared him to your sister. So I think, like when he has a good game, I guess I should, at least acknowledge it. I don't know what to make of him. Like I think you can make an argument that he's like a sell high. Like he had a great game, get whatever you can from him, move on. But I wonder, is he like, maybe he's a buy low. Maybe he's so dang cheap. Like I wonder if the owner who owns him is thinking this is sell high. This is my only chance. Like, could you just offer some crap for him and get him on your roster? And maybe like, if you're desperate for running back, like maybe he turns into something. I don't know. I feel like I just don't know what to make of Javonte Williams. And I feel like he's a potential like wild card if this offense is going to be productive down the stretch.
Yeah, I could see him doing well, but at the same time, he's fumbled sometimes. So, like, if he fumbles again, like, at what point did they go to Audric Estime? I just don't know. Slew and Mike are asking about the Saints cap situation. So, I don't know if you saw this tweet. I'm gonna pull this up. I don't know if you saw it, but here we go. Cap situation for next year. Saints are 72 million over.
Yes. The Saints are the best. They're the best at manipulating. I mean, the Eagles are close, but the Saints are the best.
The Browns also 40 million over. I think that's to do with Deshaun Watson.
Yep.
So
what a disaster.
The Watson injury is going to help them out a lot because they took out insurance policies on him, so they're going to have more cap space next year. But the Saints number, like I know the cap is fake, but at some point, like there has to be some reality to it, right? Like I tweeted out. I tweeted out that like they should rename the franchise the New Orleans Federal Reserve. What are your thoughts on this here?
The Saints are going to keep kicking the can as long as they possibly can. I mean, this is so absurd. They're the best. This is so reality. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. The reality's living in mediocrity.
I mean, I think it's great. I love it. It's just a big FU to the rest of the league, right? Like it's just like the ownership's like, yeah, we're going to spend the money. Now, obviously, they haven't spent the money wisely because they're not good. So I mean, Derek Carr is not exactly the best investment you could ever make.
Right.
Kamara's obviously a great player, and so yeah, you love having him. But I love it. I think this is great because I love the Saints are just basically saying we're going to play this game. And who knows? I mean, in 5 years, they just keep doing it. It'll be like 212 million. I mean, it'll be. I don't know how long. I don't know how absurd. At one point, the one question I would have is, at some point, do the other owners step in, and do they pass some rule to like because this is a mockery of it.
Yeah.
I mean, this is an absurd mockery of the system.
Yeah. Or at some point, the Saints ownership just might just be like, "Hey, we're not winning. We're gonna stop spending money," and then crap's gonna hit the fan.
Right.
They're gonna be one of the worst teams we've ever seen in a long time.
Because the only way to get out of this, the over cap is to spend more money to get down under the cap in the short term, and you just push more money. Like that's the magic of it. It's like they just spend more money now, and then they can just get out of it. But eventually, you got to imagine eventually the Saints ownership is going to be like, okay, we're not going to spend any more money for a while because we want to just pocket the money, whatever. Yeah. And then they'll field a team that goes 0-17.
Yeah, it's it could, like I said, crap could really hit the fan here. But
Like the best case scenario though, like if you're a team in this situation, like if there's a quarterback prospect coming out that they love, they just think it's going to be awesome. Well, the best case scenario is a year before that happens. Let's say they love Arch Manning's come out in 2026, right?
Yep.
Like, what if they think he's going to be amazing? And oh my gosh, we can get we get another Manning in the Saints uniform after Archie Manning played for the Saints many years ago. Like that could be a story, right? Well, then in 2025, they just drop all their players. They take that $72 million, put it up against their cap in 2025. Their team goes 0-17. They have the number one pick and a fresh slate with the cap. I mean, it could work out brilliantly for them, actually.
Yeah. It could, yeah. If they want to do that way, it just feels like they just want to be mediocre. I think Slew was the one who said they just want to make sure that the fans don't have paper bags over their heads, which actually did happen on Thursday.
Literally,
there was a fan. Yeah, there was a fan doing that. So maybe that means they're gonna stop spending money for a year and try to get Arch Manning, as you said. That would require him coming out in 2026. I published the 2026 mock draft already. And I posted it, and some guy on Twitter was like, "You're an idiot." I was like, "Why?" It's like, Arch Manning. There's no way Arch Manning is coming out in 2026. He's going to come out in 2027. I'm like, okay, sure. I'm just going to put him in my mock draft. Don't take it too seriously. It's calm down. So anyway, I love this. Saints front office auditioning for a gig in Washington D.C. spending money. Yeah. Unfortunately, our national debt is real. It's not fake.
That's right.
That's the one difference here. Like this is all make believe. This is just football. Even if this were real, it's just football.
Right.
But yeah,
it's some billionaire's money. Who cares? Whatever.
Yeah.
It's not my great grandchildren's tax revenue.
Right. Exactly. John was asking who's at the top of the list. I don't know. I just saw that tweet and I just reposted it. So all right.
So good.
Yeah. So, all right. So we have the London game, our final London game, thankfully. We still have the Germany game still. Jaguars 32, Patriots 16. The Jaguars down 10-0, but they roared back. So impressive in the second half. Tank Bigsby ran like crazy. The fact that Tank Bigsby ran so much killed our Evan Ingram over receiving yards prop. He had 20 receiving yards on the first drive, and they just didn't get there. We needed 49.5. He only had 35. So that was the only crappy thing about this game, but this is our biggest play of the week spread wise. So it's nice to hit this one with Jacksonville. Bigsby looked great. I love that Peterson was forced into using him because ATN was out. I wonder if ATN comes back, if he's going to go back to ATN because Peterson.
It's definitely possible.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to know what he's doing. Brian Thomas looks excellent. I actually want to ask you about Brian Thomas in a second. Patriots, Drake May. This reminds me of Josh Allen year one, where you could see glimpses of what this guy's gonna be awesome, but then he makes these dumb plays where he just kills his team, and he's a rookie. That's gonna happen. So the offensive line's terrible. Stevenson couldn't do anything. Hunter Henry looked great, but Henry did most of his production after Demario Douglas left, or Pop Douglas, as you like to call him. He left with I don't know. He had some sort of sickness or something. He barely played. So I thought Douglas was going to be the primary receiver there, and as soon as he went out, it was all Hunter Henry. So, any thoughts on this game?
Two guys. I mean, I've made a couple good calls this year. Listen, there are some years where I have no good calls, so I can't talk. I can't take too many victory laps. But this year, I've had some really good calls. One of the calls when I said this summer, I just drummed the. Listen, guys, Travis Etienne is not a good player. He sucks. I think he can get replaced. And I wasn't sure if Tank Bigsby was going to be a good player, but I knew Etienne was going to stink. And I regret not drafting Bigsby in more leagues. I only have him in one league. I wish I would draft him in obviously in all three. But I think he's clearly better than Etienne at this point. And Peterson, yeah, he's not the smartest coach around these days, it seems like. But it's how do you watch this game and go back to Etienne in any meaningful way? It just doesn't make sense to me. And then the other thing, man, Christian Kirk, I've been the vice president of the Christian Kirk fan club for 2 years here. He's been very inconsistent over the last few weeks. I'm not sure I can trust him. I'm not sure I can go back to him. If you've got Kirk at this point and you feel like you just want to bench him, I think it's viable. And it's hard to trust him at this point. Unfortunately, I don't have Juwan Jennings in our league to plug in anymore. Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's the Brian Thomas show. You said you were going to mention Thomas.
Yeah, revenge. That's great. Real quick with Kirk, his production has historically been bad ever since Evan Ingram has come along as like a big time tight end. Like when he was out of the lineup, like Kirk was doing great earlier this year, and then as soon as Ingram came back, like most of the production over the middle of the field went back to Ingram. So if he goes down again, like Ingram gets injured, like definitely try to pick up Kirk if he's available on the waiver wire. With Thomas, who would you rather have yet rest of year, Brian Thomas or Marvin Harrison Jr.?
I think I gotta go Thomas. I think Thomas is a better player. What I've seen so far. I mean, everyone tells me how great Marvin Harrison Jr. is, and I want to believe it. I'm not sure I'm convinced that he's a great player. He might be awesome. I just haven't seen it. And so, speaking of takes that I was right about when I railed all summer that Marvin Harrison Jr. should be like a 5th round pick at best, not a 2nd round pick. I feel good about that hot take at this point.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Here's a question for you: what is the penalty if the team can't be below the salary cap? Do you know it?
They're basically forced to get under the cap. The NFL, I'm not sure the rules, but the NFL forces them to get under the cap.
Yeah.
But there's some forcible mechanisms. They either take players away or they take draft picks away, or it's never happened. Every NFL team has gotten under the cap by the start of the league year.
You'll probably be docked a draft pick if that happens. But like you said, it's never happened. So I imagine that they just do it. Thompson bringing up a good point, and I agree with you on Thomas. But he says Harrison is better playoff matchups. Yes. Can I tell you Arizona's playoff matchups? I know it by heart because I've been drafting James Conner in best ball in like the 4th round and like every time because they play in their playoffs. They play the Patriots, then they play the Panthers, and then they play the Rams. Easiest playoff schedule you can possibly see, especially for running backs.
That's exciting, but like Harrison hasn't showed us anything. He's had one good game
against the Rams, by the way. Yeah, I agree though.
But it's just it's like even if you play a crappy team, you still have to be decent to take advantage of it. Mm. I mean, Marvin Harrison Jr. Here's the thing: if the Cardinals are winning, like they're winning games without him being a focal point. They're winning the other night. They're winning, and like Lou Reddick, over and over kept just being like, Lou Reddick, who's like I call him Lou, not Lewis. But he was, he's the announcer for ESPN the other night. And he's like, they've got to find a way to force the ball to Marvin Harrison. They got to get him involved in the game. They got to get him involved. And I'm like, they're winning. Why does it matter? Like, they don't care about your fantasy team. They don't care about my fantasy team. They care about winning the game. And if he's like, they're winning, but they got to get them involved. I'm like, that's the dumbest statement you hear from commentator. Like, coaches are going to do what they're going to do to take the win. They don't care if it's, Marvin Harrison Jr. or Juwan Jennings or your sister. It doesn't matter. It don't matter who's catching the balls. They just want to win games.
Yeah, I mean, they are winning games. 2 of the past 3 weeks, they've beaten the Niners and the Chargers. 2 winning teams, or Niners were a winning team once upon a time. But and Patrick's saying super random. You see, Dave Smith is now voting for Trump because Kamala campaigning with Liz Cheney was the last straw for him. Not surprised. Glad to hear it. I love Dave Smith.
I'm surprised to hear that Dave Smith has dogged on Trump a lot.
He has, and fairly so. He has some good criticisms. It's a fellow libertarian, the Dave Smith. I was actually hoping Dave Smith would run, but at the same time, I was like, just wait till 2028. Probably don't want to get in front of the Trump train. I love Dave Smith, and so I'm not as surprised because he has some criticisms, but what's the alternative here? Of all the candidates, Trump is the most libertarian candidate, even more so than Chase Oliver, the Libertarian Party candidate, which is crazy. I don't know.
I'm surprised. I think it's a good move. I love Dave Smith. I think he's a great comedian.
So
I think he's an insightful political analyst.
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely. Do you do trade reviews? Yes. Send us your trade reviews. Liz or Senator Trades for a reason. Liz Cheney, the ultimate runner. She is the absolute worst. Adam Kinzinger is right there with her, and he blocked me on Twitter, which I'm pretty proud of.
It's a compliment.
Yeah, it is. He actually said something like he was good. He said like something. He's like, I'm going to vote for Kamala. I'm like, that's the biggest endorsement you could ever give for Trump, and then he blocked me.
That's right.
So, Ferro says 8-man league. Should I deal Saquon Barkley 8-man league? Should I deal Saquon Barkley, Chuba, and Pittman for Derrick Henry and Justin Jefferson? Yeah, especially with Bryce Young coming back to start. I don't know if it's going to be long term with the car accident, but yes, I mean Henry, Barkley, you could argue. But yeah, you're basically trading Chuba and Pittman for Jefferson. I would do that.
It's a huge upgrade.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. Barkley to Henry is a slight downgrade. But what you're getting in return is massive.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's get to the next game. So we have Seahawks 34, Falcons 14. This is kind of a misleading score. This is close for a while. But Atlanta was looking ahead to Tampa. I wrote that this game didn't mean anything, and I bet Seattle pretty heavily because like the Falcons are not getting the number 1 seed, so they get a home game if they win the division, and so next week they have Tampa, or this week they have Tampa. So that game meant so much more to them. If they beat Tampa, they sweep them. Like they basically have the division locked up, like barring like crazy injuries. So and not a surprise that they didn't have the best effort here. Still, like Bijan Robinson looked great. Algier only had 5 carries, so they were pretty close. Actually, in week 6, Algier had more carries than Robinson, so that definitely flipped like pretty like markedly. Kyle Pitts has quietly done pretty well recently. I think he's like the tight end 8 right now on the season. So he's looking pretty good. Not the amazing prospect we thought we were getting at like number 4 overall, but still he's gotten better. Drake London, good game. Of course, Metcalf unfortunately got hurt. That's like the dark cloud over this game for Seattle, but it doesn't sound like he's gonna be out for too long. Kenneth Walker was outstanding again, 2 touchdowns. So any thoughts on this game?
Before I just mention this game, just a quick mention. Jamar Chase and Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith and Micah Parsons, players drafted after Kyle Pitts in the NFL draft. Anyway, just always worthy of mentioning because, Kyle Pitts sucks. I just can't stand that player. He's such a anyway. Anyway, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, Falcons. Falcons not Seahawks. No, I think it's everything. Man, Ken Walker he's a great player. He's so fun to watch. DK Metcalf getting injured sucks. He made a great catch, man, on that trick play. Who threw the ball? Was it Tyler Lockett that threw the ball or in Jigba? One of the
Jigba.
Yeah. Just like he's just a freak athlete. You're like, dude, this dude should not be able to get up the way he does. And so I love DK Metcalf. I hope he's not out for a long period of time. Obviously, Bijan Robinson's awesome. He's great. Tyler Algier, by the way, on Yahoo Leagues a couple days ago, in Yahoo Leagues, he was only like 39% owned. I think he's like 45% owned in ESPN leagues, and like maybe it was 37 in Yahoo.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a lot of leagues where he's a free agent on the waiver wire. He's a decent player. If Bijan were to go down, Tyler Algier is like he's easily an RB2, if not better, if Bijan goes down, I think. And so I think this is the time of year where I think like it's like start to try to pick up handcuff running backs, but not your handcuff, other teams' handcuffs. So like, if you don't have Bijan and you pick up Tyler Algier and Bijan gets injured, now boom, you've got the hammer. You can either trade him to the Bijan owner, or you've just inherited an RB2 or better. So there are other guys on that list. I think Vidal from the Chargers is probably in that mix. Braden Allen from the Jets. There are other guys. I think Kenny Gainwell from the Eagles might be in that conversation. I think there's some guys that you could pick up and be. Although Algier is even viable as potential flex play, even if Bijan's in, based on the matchup. Yeah. So I think he's a great target. He should be owned in way more leagues.
Yeah, say to have that list: Ray Davis, Zach Charbonnet, to an extent, Jalen Wright, because Devon Achane is so banged up, and Blake Corum with the Rams. I think those are all guys. And especially if you're in a league with Fab, like spend $1 on these guys, not the $30 you're gonna have to spend if one of those starters goes down. Like those guys should absolutely be on in all leagues. Metcalf needs to take his time letting his injury heal. Yeah, absolutely. Mike Evans made that mistake. He was hurt before he got injured. Like he caught that touchdown, but like you could see he was not 100%. And like I was pretty worried because I had Tampa plus 4.5. And that did not turn out well because then he got injured. Now he's out until week 11. So these players like they try to like be heroic, and it's kind of admirable, but at the same time it's pretty reckless. Like, if you're playing injured, just heal up. Like take one game off instead of being injured for 4 games. Like it's just such a big mistake. Start Jameis or Richardson as second superflex quarterback. Also Cowboys, Giants, or Falcons defense, and Njoku or Ferguson this week. Jameson or Richardson, I would say that Richardson struggled, but he had his best game of the year against Houston in week 1, and Houston like historically has struggled against scrambling quarterbacks. So I would go with Richardson, even though I feel like Winston could have a lot of garbage time points against the Ravens. It's pretty close. I would say Richardson though, just because he had that one great matchup. Cowboys, Giants, or Falcons. So definitely not. Definitely not the Giants. I think you can make a case for the Falcons, not the Cowboys, unless everyone's out for the 49ers. I would say Falcons right now. No, yeah, I don't know. I'm not in love with either of those three, but I'd say Falcons just because Tampa's cluster injuries at receiver now. And Njoku versus Baltimore's defense, and Baltimore gives up so much yardage over the middle of the field. And then Ferguson against the Niners, who are good against tight ends. So definitely Njoku. He's basically the number one receiver on that team with Amari Cooper gone. And like I said, Baltimore gives up a ton of yards to tight ends. So yeah, that is what I would go with. Any other any different answers?
The Jameson versus Richardson, I think it depends on your team. Like if you feel like you really need to shoot the moon, like if you feel like you need the upside, maybe like you feel like the team you're going up against is better than yours, and you need potential upside, I go Richardson. Because Richardson, he could go off and he could have a 35-point day. I think he's more likely to have the higher ceiling. Richardson could also give you like a -2 day. Like, I mean, just where I think Jameson's like range of outcomes is tighter. And so maybe like a little less upside, but a little safer. Can't believe I just said Jameis Winston is more safe. And I mean, can't believe that just came out of my mouth. That's just, I think of the players here, of the defenses, I think I think the Giants against Russell Wilson. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe the Giants defense is actually better than I thought they were.
Yeah.
I might take a shot at the Giants versus Russell Wilson. Trust that Russell Wilson will give the ball away a couple times, maybe. And you said Njoku, right? I agree with you. I think you said Njoku.
I'll change my answer. I'll say Giants. I agree with you. I think I on second thought I'd go Giants defense as well. So we're in agreement there.
Nice.
It's Russell Wilson. Just he sold me on that one. Turgay. Let's say you have running backs Bijan, Pollard, Najee, Javante, receivers London, Nico, Puka, who might be back this week, but probably week 9. Addison, Mooney, tight end McBride, defense Chiefs 49ers, Boswell, Dak. Would you trust this team? 12-man league, or would you try to trade? So Bijan, Brees, Pollard, like that's a great trio at running back.
Excellent.
Yeah. So London, Nico, with Puka coming back, like Nico's going to be back in a few weeks. Puka might be back this week or next. And then assuming they don't suffer setbacks, I think you're going to be fine there. McBride has a great schedule. We talked about that. And then that, like, quarterbacks were the only place where you're weak, but Dallas also has an easier schedule at the end. I'll pull it up here in a second. But this team looks pretty good outside of quarterback. Dak's schedule to close out the year at Carolina, terrible defense. At home against Tampa, terrible pass defense, and then the Eagles. Which it's actually that might be that, like, the Eagles defense. We don't know; they could be playing better at the end of the year, and it's a road game in Philly, so there could be bad weather in Week 17. So the first 2 weeks of the playoffs, you will be fine with Dak. Just try to get, just in case the weather is bad, try to get a good backup for week 17. I don't think you really need to make any changes there. Any thoughts on this?
I mean, in principle, if I can get a great deal, I'm always willing to make a trade. If it upgrades my team, sure. But I think generally, you're not in a situation where I feel like you have to force a trade.
Yeah.
You know, there are moments where it's like you got to make a change. Just you roll the dice. I would not say you're in that position. Don't make a trade unless there's just a clear, helpful upgrade.
Yeah, and you have two running backs there at the end, Najee and Javante, who you could sell high right now. So if you could package them or one of them and Dak for a better quarterback, you could probably do that. And
That's a good point.
Team traded one offer is Mahomes and JJ, Justin Jefferson for Allen, Andrews, and Higgins. The other offer is Brees and Njoku for Pollard and Neighbors. It's a super flex league. I'm the Brees, Mahomes, and JJ owner.
Was this the NBA? Like three team trade.
Trade. That's crazy. I've never seen a 3-team trade in fantasy. So yeah, this is so confused here. Like
I can't follow. I'm sorry.
I'm having trouble following this. So like what are you getting? Mahomes and JJ for Allen, Andrews, and Higgins. I mean, Mahomes has been pretty brutal in fantasy. Just getting Josh Allen's a big upgrade. Yeah, you lose Jefferson, you get Higgins. It's basically an upgraded quarterback for Justin Jefferson, for Andrews and Higgins. If like Mahomes is your only quarterback, then maybe you do it. If you have good depth at receiver, and then Brees and Joker for Pollard and Neighbors. The thing was the Neighbors. We'll talk about Neighbors in a bit, but like Andrew Thomas being out really hurts Neighbors because suddenly Daniel Jones doesn't have all the time in the world to find him downfield, and so that's going to take away his upside. So I wouldn't be like dying to trade for Neighbors as great as he's been. I'd rather have Brees and Njoku. Like I said, Njoku's the number one receiver on the Browns. So yeah, I wouldn't do the second trade. The first I would do if you have good depth at receiver. Anyway, all right. So is Ricky Pearsall worth picking up? If it's a deep league, it depends who's out too. Like if Debo's gonna be out this week as well. If George Kittle's gonna be out, Jennings is also questionable. Like if everyone's out, then they pick up Pearsall. If all those guys play, then I really wouldn't bother.
I picked him up in our league.
You did. I'm sorry, Kenny. I stole Stroud from you last year. Now I steal Jennings. I'm like, who's that? Like it's like the Redskins always get the Eagles trash. Like I feel like I'm the Redskins here. It's your Eagles. So take that as compliment, I guess.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
All right. Bills 34, Titans 10. Believe it or not, the Titans were up 10-0, and it looked like this was gonna be an upset, and apparently not. Mason Rudolph did not play well. A lot of dinking and dunking here. So like Tennessee's offense is pretty easy to solve, which is like load up the box and Pollard and just like that's it. Ridley, a week after he had 8 targets for no catches, he had 9 targets for 3 catches. Just like the most inefficient receiver. DeAndre Hopkins is gone. He sat out the fourth quarter. He's like, I don't want to play anymore. So they traded him for a 5th round pick that could be upgraded so forth. So this Titans team is just a disaster. They're 11-point underdogs in Detroit. And Detroit is like the ultimate like flat spot because they just beat the Vikings and the Packers next week. I'm still going to bet them just because Tennessee's that bad. As far as the Bills are concerned, Amari Cooper doesn't know the playbook yet. Like Keon Coleman had to tell him which route to run in the end zone or in the red zone. So he had 4 for 66 and a touchdown. Keon Coleman felt like he got unlocked with Cooper because like suddenly teams can't focus on him. So he might be someone who could do well down the stretch. I don't completely trust it, but he's definitely an upgraded with Cooper. He's one of the winners of the Cooper trade.
Sure.
And then James Cook, 12 carries for 32, whereas Ray Davis had 5 for 41. I feel like Ray Davis is a better runner. Cook obviously a better receiver of the backfield. So we might see that even out eventually. So any thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I thought Mason Rudolph, by the way, played better than Will Levis has played. So I mean, like as ridiculous as it sounds, like he's an upgrade. I'm not saying he's good, but he's an upgrade. So this game was like competitive for a chunk of the game, and then the Bills just ran away with it, obviously. The guy that I still like is that I believe in Khalil. I think I believe in Khalil Shakir. Is it Shakir?
Okay.
Shakir. When I watch him play, like I think he's a good player, not an amazing player. But he might be their best receiver, even including Amari Cooper. Like I think he's at the most, like he might have the most talent, but he's just not there yet. So he kind of reminds me of early Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams' first 2 years in the league was like super athletic, make a lot of catches, but like just made a lot of bonehead plays and just still didn't know how to be a professional receiver. Like kind of took a bit to kind of come into his own. I wonder if like a year or two we'll look back and think that about Shakir. So obviously for redraft that doesn't help us this year much, but I generally like him. One other thought, and that is Pollard is a really good player. He had like totally stacked boxes, and he was getting tackled in the backfield. I mean, there were so many plays where it's like this guy should have been tackled for loss, and he turned him. He had these amazing runs that turned him into like 1 yard gain. I mean, it was like I'm like that's the best 1 yard I've ever seen. I mean, it's just he had a really good game, and the stats don't show it. Right, 18 carries for 61 yards doesn't look good, but like honestly, if it were like I don't know. If it was Zamir White, it would have been 18 carries for 5 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, like, and so Pollard is, I think, better than the stats show. You know, I don't know if he's a buy low candidate because that team sucks. But like maybe he's worth like kicking the tires on. Like, see if the Pollard owner in your league like wants to give up on him and just like dump him. Then like maybe it's worth having on your bench just in case the Titans offense is able to turn around a little bit. But I don't know. I wouldn't spend a lot on him, but if you could get him for peanuts, I think it's worth having on your bench.
Yeah, and the bonus is that he's already had his bye week, so it's one game you're not going to have. You're not going to have him. And I know this well because of all the best ball drafts I've done. Just like I've drafted Pollard so much because he's already had his bye week. So it feels like people don't pay attention to that very much. Do you like Cooper or Hopkins more the rest of the year? My answer is Cooper, like best route runner in football. Yeah, everyone says Cooper. Yeah, okay. Yeah, we'll touch on the Chiefs in a bit. Bengals 21, Browns 14. This is such a frustrating game because I had Browns plus 5.5, right, I think, or plus 6 or whatever it was. And Deshaun Watson goes down. Not that Deshaun Watson is great or anything like that, but he was 15 of 17. Like he was completing his passes. Dorian Thompson-Robinson couldn't complete half of his passes against one of the worst secondaries in the NFL. So that just goes to show you like how bad he is. He had 2 picks too. Jameis Winston came in at the end, had some garbage time. Almost like it looked like he might have had a chance to even win the game because the Bengals or the Browns they got it to 7 and they had to try an onside kick. And if they had recovered, it felt like Winston was going to tie the game or something. Nick Chubb came back, 11 carries, 22 yards, and a touchdown. Not the best production against this bad defense. So like I didn't like Chubb heading into this year at all. I just think that like you want to avoid running backs coming off to an ACL unless his name's Adrian Peterson. But like it's going to be a while until Chubb is 100%. We may never even see 100% Chubb ever again. Sadly, yeah. I talked about David Njoku, 10 catches, 76 yards, a touchdown. Like this is gonna be a Njoku all year. Like he's like try to get him in fantasy. Like you might not be able to on value, but if like his owner doesn't recognize that he's the number 1 receiver on the team, like you might be able to get him at a bargain. Cedric Tillman though, 8 for 81. I don't know what to think of that. Jerry Jeudy sucks. He had 1 catch on 5 targets. He dropped the pass. He's just such a big disappointment. As far as the Bengals is concerned, like pretty standard. Like Burrow had a tough matchup here. He did what he could. He scored 0 offensive points in the first half. The Bengals had 7 points. That was on a kickoff return to start the game. But the one real takeaway here is Chase Brown, 15 carries, Zach Moss 6. You know, definitely Chase Brown's backfield. So any thoughts on this game?
Yeah. Yeah. Chase Brown is finally the last 2 weeks clearly out snap. Even the snaps were like 42 to 20 something, I think was the snap count. And so clearly Chase Brown is taking the lead. He's the best. I mean, which is, we suspected this, several weeks back because Zach Moss sucks. Unless there's a Chase Brown injury, it doesn't matter. He doesn't matter. I mean, he matters to like whatever his family, but he doesn't matter to me.
Family's like, oh, you suck. You know, get away.
There was there was one other thing I was going to say. Oh, Cedric Wilson, total fugazi. It was like crappy, lucky, garbage time. You can ignore that. I think I don't have any confidence. Yeah, Njoku's going to be he's their main pass catcher. I don't think he's a good player. I mean, he's fine. You know, he's whatever. Maybe he's slightly above average tight end in the NFL. But if you're going to be the number one pass catcher on a mediocre offense, you're going to get a lot of fantasy points, even if they're kind of empty calories. They're fantasy calories nonetheless. So I think that's wise advice if you can get them. I mean, don't overspend for him, obviously, you know. But yeah, I think he's worth targeting. For sure. The Bengals offense has looked like they look functional. Like I know this sounds dumb. Like other than the Super Bowl year, I've kind of not been like a big fan of the coach. I've thought he's kind of overrated. And really not even the whole Super Bowl year. It was just like the last few games of the year in the playoffs where like he really like it feels like I wonder is it me or it just feels like every year it takes them 5 or 6 games to like get in the shape and like figure it out. Like why do you guys suck in September every year? Like I don't know. I don't get it. Like I don't know. So something's going on with I don't know that coach staff. I don't know. Maybe it's Burrow. I don't know. Maybe it was the injuries. Whatever. But Burrow, the offense looked like it's rounding in the shape.
It's every year with the Bengals. I don't like Zach Taylor at all. It's like I think they are like I want to look it up, but they have a terrible record to start the year. Same with Sean Payton, by the way. Sean Payton, you would think is a good coach, but in weeks 1 and 2, Sean Payton is 3 and 18 against the spread in weeks 1 and 2. So that it's just pretty brutal. But yeah, the Bengals haven't done well in the first 2 weeks of the season either. Kevin's telling us to talk about Pokemon. I don't know why. If anything, Magic the Gathering is the way to go. You want to talk about? You want to talk about my Basim Commander deck, Kenny? I think we'll lose all our viewership.
Zippity Zoodow, Zippity ZZ. I have no clue what you guys are talking about.
Yeah, when Trump's in office, he'll outlaw soccer and Pokemon. I think the WNBA was on the list too.
Thank God. I hope he outlawed soccer.
Yeah, that'd be great. What's going on? So the Bungles, that's absolutely true. That's 100% true.
It's so strange, but they have so much talent. They should not suck every year in September. It doesn't make any sense.
They should not. All right. Next game, Packers 24, Texans 22. This was a misleading score. The Texans got 10 free points off of turnovers to start the game. They had 197 yards of offense. They could not do anything. CJ Stroud, 10 of 21, 86 yards. Brutal game for him. And it's kind of simple. It's like Nico Collins is gone. Tank Dell is not 100%. Like he got shot, like he got injured previously. Like this guy is banged up. You can tell he's not what he was last year, and maybe he will be next year. But right now he's not 100%. So the only viable receiver they have is Stephon Diggs, and then when you have Jair Alexander on the other side, like you can take away the only viable receiver, and suddenly Stroud has to throw to Cade Stover and Dalton Schultz, and Xavier Hutchinson. Like that's what happened here. Joe Mixon had a great game. That's the only good thing you say about the Texans. But Bobby Slowick's play calling is just so brutal for Houston. He's so predictable. He just runs all the time on first and second down. Always puts Stroud in third and long. He does like Stroud a huge disservice with his like predictable play calling. Love bounced back. Like he had an awful first quarter, and then he bounced back with 3 touchdowns. So gotta like that. Romeo Doubs led the way. Like it's gonna be someone new every week for the Packers in the receiving core, unless they have injuries. It's so unpredictable. Tucker Kraft, I think, is one guy you can count on, a tight end, 3 for 33 and a touchdown. He has a very easy tight end schedule for the playoffs. I've been trying to draft him in like the 9th round or 10th round of best ball, just because of the easy schedule. So, any thoughts on this game?
Yeah, the CJ Stroud situation. He should be good enough to overcome some of these situations. Like if we think he's as great, I think he's a great player. I think the talent's there. He's shown it. He should not be this inefficient and this inconsistent throughout the course of a game. Like, so he's not been like this for this season, but like this is a little concerning to me. Like, you should never play this badly in any game. So it makes me a little nervous. That like if you're a Stephon Diggs owner, like could the passing game just have a total like could they have a goose egg in a time where if you're a Stroud owner, could like when you need them most in a playoff game, in week 15, they lay an egg. Like, maybe I'm overthinking it, but I walked away a little concerned. In my mind, this was like, I heard someone else in a fantasy YouTube channel said, are there wagons? Like, is this team a wagon? Like they're so good, anyone on the wagon is going to be good. I think that was the metaphor they were trying to. I may be butchering the metaphor. Anyway, whatever the metaphor is, I don't think they're a wagon right now. Maybe that's the injuries. But I think it's a little more than the injuries. I'm a little concerned about this offense right now. And someone who owns Joe Mixon across multiple leagues, he was great this week, but I get a little bit nervous. There's nothing you can do about it though. Like if you own these players, like you're not going to dump them, right? You're not going to trade these. Like they're yours. It just gives me a little bit of anxiety.
Yeah, I don't blame you. It's like I said, I think it's slow play calling. It's Collins' injury, and the offensive line's not playing nearly as well as it was last year. So you have all three together, like you're gonna have bad games like this. And I agree. I think Stroud could cost you a game in a tough matchup. Like this was a tough matchup. The Packers entered the week 6th in defensive EPA. Their defense is awesome. They actually had the highest pressure rate in the NFL of all teams that blitz at less than 20% of the time. So they get to the quarterback a lot without blitzing. So they're going to give quarterbacks a lot of problems. The run defense, on the other hand, very, very shaky, but they're great against the pass. So they're going to make quarterbacks look bad. That's what they do.
One other quick low buy low target is Jaden Reed. Like Reed's the guy. Like he's coming off of 2 catches. It looks like he's phased out of the offense. I'm still convinced he's the most talented player of the bunch. All those guys. I mean, maybe Christian Watson is, but who knows if Christian Watson is ever going to live up to his talent. But Reed is the guy that I think is. I think he's the best player. I think he's the one that seems to have the best rapport with Love in this game. Obviously, it wasn't great, and so I think he's the kind of guy that I would go after. I think he's a great buy low target.
I completely agree. He actually he hurt his ankle in week 6, and so I was actually thinking about playing him in DFS, and then I saw the ankle injury, and I'm like, okay, let me stay away from him. And yeah, he had a bad game. It's not serious enough to keep him out, so I assume that he's going to be better very soon. So. I totally agree. I think Reed is the receiver to own, and coming off 2 for 10, like you might be able to get him cheaply. I like that call. All right, next game, Lions 31, Vikings 29. This is like a roller coaster game because like the Vikings went up 10-0. You thought the Lions were out of it. Then the Lions went up big, and you're like, all right, the Vikings are not going to have a chance. And the Vikings took the lead, and then the Lions won at the end. It was a very fun game to watch. Jared Goff, a few weeks after he went 18 of 18. He went 22 of 25, 280, and 2 touchdowns against one of the top defenses in the NFL. Like this guy right now, I think if the season were to end right now, I think he would probably win MVP. And like Mahomes would probably deserve it just because they're 6-0, but his stats aren't as good, and like there might be some voter fatigue there, so it might go to Goff, who by the way is like 7.5 to 1 to win MVP right now on FanDuel. I think I'm gonna bet that a little bit, but. Jahmyr Gibbs had an awesome game. He had this one cut where he like broke this guy's ankles. I don't know if you saw the play, like the safety camera by him. Like he just like his unborn grandchildren are just gonna feel that pain, like just for that move. So good. St. Brown felt like he broke out of his funk. 8 for 112 and a touchdown. He was great. We had we did well in the player props last week, but the one disappointing game was Laporta because he had an early 25-yard catch and then he did nothing after that. But you might be able to buy low on him now because Jameson Williams can be suspended for a couple games, and so that might open up more targets for Laporta. So something to keep in mind there. Sam Darnold was almost as good as Goff. He went 22-27. He threw an interception, but still, like Aaron Jones looked great too. Jefferson, as usual, you'd expect that. TJ Hawkinson might come back this week or next week, so just look out for that. I don't know if he's going to be 100%, but still, it won't hurt. Better than Johnny Munt, who saw 5 targets just randomly. So any thoughts on this game?
The Montgomery benching. I mean, he was flat out benched in this game. I was very surprised by that because he's the guy. I mean, both in Chicago and Detroit, they love this guy. He's the gritty guy. He's the break his kneecaps guy. He's the Dan Campbell. Like if Dan Campbell could, be a guy like he is this. Like he is the Dan Campbell on the field. So it was very, very odd to me that they benched him and basically just totally said, "Okay, Gibbs, it's your game." As a Gibbs owner in fantasy, I love it, obviously, because I benefited from that. But I was really surprised by that. I don't know if that'll continue that way, right? Like I can't imagine. I would imagine they go back to Montgomery, but we'll see. And Sam Darnold right now is playing the best football of his career. I mean, it's really interesting. Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield are having the best seasons of their career. Mm-hmm. Those guys are both drafted in the 2018 draft, right? 2018.
Yeah, 2018, yeah.
Yeah. Where Baker was 1, Darnold was 2, wasn't he?
Darnold's 3, Josh Allen was 7, and then Josh Rosen was 10, and Lamar Jackson was 31, right? Yeah.
Right. So that's pretty remarkable to watch that happening this late in their career.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy that Darnold's having this resurgence. I saw a tweet. I said this yesterday, so forgive me for those who listened yesterday. But I'm talking Kenny. I saw a tweet saying that the Vikings were exploring a trade for Matthew Stafford, and I retweeted that. I'm like, oh, that'd be a great backup for Sam Darnold.
I don't understand. I don't understand that move. Like, is Stafford that much greater right now? Like, maybe he is, but I don't know. Like, Darnold's playing great.
He is, but can you see Darnold winning a Super Bowl? Can you see him holding up the Lombardi Trophy?
No, of course not. I didn't think Nick Foles could either.
Fair. That's fair. That's totally fair. Might be. I don't know. Darnold has talent. It's not like he's some mid-round bum that got elevated. He was the 3rd overall pick. He had natural talent. He just he was so bad with the Jets. He saw ghosts against Bill Belichick. It took him a while to figure things out, and that's what happens. Sometimes that happens. So I think this is real. I think the Vikings are a legit team. I think the Lions are better, but the Vikings they're a top. I think they're a top 5 team in the NFL. So.
If anyone doesn't realize, Darnold's he's legitimately playing well. He's not elite, but he's legitimately playing really good football.
Yeah.
And so I think people don't realize it.
Yeah, Mahomes is quarterback 22 right now. So we're talking about Montgomery he hurt his knee, but then he came back. He only missed 1 drive. Maybe they kept him out because they're worried. But the way Gibbs is going, I think they were just going to feed the ball to Gibbs at that point. I think that's what Kenny was saying.
I mean, I thought it was weird because David Montgomery is such a big part of their offense. So it seemed to me like he just sort of was, he fumbled and it was like, okay, we're going to Gibbs and we're done.
Yeah,
maybe I misread it.
Khalif Raymond will be so about Tim Patrick. Love Tim Patrick. 8 years from now, we'll be saying it's pretty amazing. Bryce Young having the best season of his career. Can you see that?
Oh, man, I don't know that Bryce Young's going to last that long. He's
he can't see over the offensive lines. It's quite an issue. The Darnold's ruined by Adam Gase. Yeah, that's we know the deal now.
It's possible. I mean, the coaching in the NCFL. That's where Bryce Young will be having his best career in 8 years, best year of his career. The coaches of a quarterback's young career, early in his career, really does inform and shape his trajectory in a lot of ways.
Oh yeah. Same thing with the offensive line. Look at David Carr, just taking 73 sacks his rookie year. Dom Capers. Not the best head coach. It kind of ruined his career too. But speaking of CFL, I made my first CFL bet of the year. Probably my only one.
I bet degenerate.
Listen. I got an inside tip from someone. It says the Edmonton Eskimos are the play this Friday. They're -1.5, I think, right now. So that is a bet I made. Dell or Stevenson this week? I like I said, Dell is dealing with multiple things. He's not 100%. You might be able to get a decent game out of him here and there, but I don't really trust it. So I would go Stevenson. The Jets' run defense is pretty rough. So Stevenson might have a decent game. So I would trust Stevenson over that. What do you think?
I think it's really close, and whenever things are close, I always lean toward the running back, because I play fantasy football like it's 1994. So, yeah,
That's when we started. That's when we started. Of course.
The Patriots, I mean, their offense is not good, but it's at least functional with May in there.
Yes,
and so you can start Stevenson in a flex spot and not be totally laughable.
Yeah, agreed. All right, next game. Your Philadelphia Eagles, 28 over the soul sucking Giants.
It was wonderful. It was great.
Yeah, it was completely lopsided. It was every time the Giants had the ball, sack. It's like so brutal to watch. Nothing. The Giants can do anything. Like Malik Neighbors, only 441, his worst game as a pro. And we talked about the offensive line, Andrew Thomas being out. It's a huge deal for that. You'd think it would help Wan'Dale Robinson, just check downs and stuff like that. But 6 for 23, it's not great. So Eagles had a big play of AJ Brown, 4th down, 41-yard touchdown. Saquon Barkley got his revenge game. Unfortunately, I thought Barkley was going to have more receiving yards. I bet his over 14.5 receiving yards that lost. But yeah, he got revenge. He was talking about how the Giants fans are burning his jerseys in the parking lot. I don't understand that. Like, sell the jersey, give it to charity. Like, I don't why are you burning his jersey? It's not like he trash talked the Giants or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like the Giants made the decision to re-sign Daniel Jones. It's not like Barkley, I'm sure wanted to stay there. He just couldn't. So like why would you burn his jersey? It just, I don't know. People are stupid. It's very stupid. So anyway, what are your thoughts with this game?
A couple things. One, Quinyon Mitchell, the Eagles rookie cornerback, followed Malik Neighbors for most of the game. And the Eagles don't do that, which is very surprising to me. The Eagles are not they don't let their cornerbacks travel. Their cornerbacks stay on one side of the field typically. But they let Mitchell travel a lot with Neighbors. And Neighbors didn't have a single catch when Mitchell was traveling with him. And so, I don't know that, as an Eagles fan, I'm getting a little excited there. Maybe there's a little Mitchell Island developing. We'll see. He was the first cornerback taken off in the draft this past season. Or this past off season. Maybe it'll be great. Saquon was great. Rest of season, I think he's the number 1 overall player, rest of season, right? I mean, obviously he's awesome. The Giants suck, and they have Daniel Jones as their quarterback. Obviously, after this year, they won't. Guaranteed money's up. I gotta imagine they move on from him. I mentioned Kenny Gainwell earlier as a handcuff player if Saquon were to go down. The Eagles' offensive line is starting to play well. And Jalen Hurts, by the way, has quietly had 2 really good games. They're against the Browns and the Giants, obviously, but the Browns are nothing to sneeze at. And the Giants' defense is decent, actually. So in the last 2 games, after through the first 4 games of the year, Hurts was leading quarterbacks in turnovers. In the last 2 weeks, he's got 5 touchdowns and no turnovers. So that's a good sign. And so maybe you said this last week. Maybe the Eagles will kind of like get it together and their offense will be a wagon. This week they were not a wagon. Devontae Smith obviously did not eat. And so if you're a Devontae Smith owner, not a good week. But maybe they'll be a wagon down the stretch. And I think that's good signs thing to come. So maybe you could target a guy like Dallas Goedert or Devontae Smith in your league and, kind of get a buy low.
Well, you had more receiving yards than Devontae Smith last week.
That's true.
Congratulations.
Because I am incredibly talented.
Yes. That was it was pretty disappointing for Devontae Smith owners. But he's going to be more inconsistent, whereas AJ Brown, I think, is if you were to redraft, you talk about redrafting, and I agree, Barkley is number 1. I've been drafting him whenever I had the number 1 pick in best ball. I've been taking him. AJ Brown, though, where would you draft him right now if you were to go rest of the season? Because I've been taking him as high as number 4 overall.
He's a mid first round pick,
considering the bye, because he's had his bye already, so that helps.
Yeah, mid first round pick. If you can get him late first round pick, I think that's great value.
Yeah, I think anywhere between 4 and 8 right now, just considering the bye. Like once everyone's had their bye, probably 6 to 8 or something. But yeah, I love AJ Brown. All right. We have Colts 16, Dolphins 10. This was man, this was so bad. I continue to lose respect for Mike McDaniel every single week, and I'm in like negative territory right now. I don't understand what he's doing at all. He's feeding the ball to Alec Ingold nonstop. Alec Ingold had more touches than Tyreek Hill. Like, think about that for a second. Like, your fullback had more touches than your elite receiver. This makes no sense. Jalen Waddle as well. In fact, Alec Ingold had as many touches as Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle combined. It makes zero sense. He feeds the ball to Ingold on crucial fourth downs. And then for some reason, he has Tim Boyle on his 53-man roster when Boyle is probably the worst quarterback I've ever seen in my life. It's not hyperbole. He forgot what down it was on the final drive of the game. I don't know if you saw this. They were rushing. They were down 16-0. They're trying to drive. He throws the ball away on fourth down. He throws it out of bounds, and then he goes to the huddle. And the official's like, "Oh yeah, it turnover down, so you have to leave the field." And Boyle's like confused. He thought it was third down. They're just throwing the ball away. Terrible. So, yeah, it's like this is what happened. Huntley actually was okay. He's a decent number 2, but Boyle should not be in the NFL. It's just a complete disgrace. Richardson, another rough game for him. He ran at 56 rushing yards, but wasn't enough. I thought he'd be okay with Jonathan Taylor out because he's going to do all the running, and he did do all the running. He just didn't score. Tyler Goodson emerged over Trey Sermon, and then but nothing out of the Colts receivers. But the good news though for the Dolphins is that Tua might be back. I don't think it's going to be a panacea or anything like that for any of them. It's just I feel like they're a broken team. It's not like they were playing well with Tua. Like they struggled to beat the Jaguars and they got blown out by the Bills with Tua. So like he's not going to be this cure for them, but they will be at least serviceable fantasy wise with Hill and Waddle again. So any thoughts on this game?
Goodson. I never heard of this guy for not too long, like until recently, but Goodson, if Jonathan Taylor is not going to be back this week, I think Goodson's a nice start. Like, so if you're desperate for running back or desperate for flex, Goodson's the kind of guy you could go after. The Miami Dolphins are beyond broken right now. I mean, I don't. It's unbelievable to me. How do you not manufacture touches for Tyreek Hill? Do a little bubble screen. Do a little end around. Kind of quick hitch out to high percentage play. Like there's so many things you could do just to get the ball in his hand 4 or 5 times in space and just see what happens. And if nothing happens and he gets tackled, okay, whatever. But like there is not a single moment in the game. There's not one play in the entire game where you could clearly see, they are forcing the ball to Tyreek Hill to see if he can do something. How do you not do that with Tyreek Hill? I don't get it. They're treating Tyreek Hill like, I don't know, like he's Paris Campbell. I don't get it. It makes no sense to me. I'd like to believe when Tua gets back, it'll make a difference, but as you said, I don't know. One other side note, Devon Achane is the first running back that I've seen wearing the Guardian helmet. You see that?
Yeah.
The Guardian helmet, like I get it, like for you want to protect, he's got a concussion, you want to protect your head, that makes sense. But man, they look goofy, don't they? They're just
yeah, they do.
Like it's so like, oh gosh, I can't even get. It's so strange to me, but I don't know. Maybe it'll become a trend. I wonder if they'll just if like in 10 years from now, like NFL head helmets will all be like these weird, like odd shaped, like crazy. I wonder
if that takes concussions out. Like, I guess why not? Maybe the old helmets to be grandfathered in. Remember, I don't know if you don't follow hockey, but there's in the 90s, the Flyers had this one guy who didn't wear a helmet.
It was Rod Brindamore, right?
No, it was someone else. He was grandfathered in though, where he didn't have to wear a helmet. Everyone else did. It was just always funny to see that. And I'm like, why are you not wearing a helmet? It just doesn't make sense. Reminds me because I was on the swim team, throughout high school and college. There's one guy I used to swim with. He just didn't wear goggles, and I'm like, why don't you wear goggles? It makes you swim better. He's like, no, I don't like it. I'm like, okay, you just wear them and it makes you see underwater. He's like, no, I don't like it. It's okay, sure. So it reminds me of that, but It looks like NFL Blitz. Yeah, it's a weird look. They can't make them look better. Like I get it. Like it's for safety, but you can like maybe invest into making them look a little bit more appealing. I don't know. Walt's Hero Trudeau banned the Eskimos moniker. That's true. They're at the Edmonton Elks actually, not the Eskimos, which I don't like understand. Well, why is Eskimos offensive? I feel like that's it's a good name. I
It's
don't
the
know.
same reason why the Washington Redskins or Cleveland Guardians or Cleveland, whatever they were called, Cleveland Indians.
Yeah, I guess.
Stupid.
I don't. Yeah, the Edmonton Commanders, Edmonton football team. Guardian, yes, all that. Better quarterback matchup: Mahomes versus the Raiders or Darnold versus the Rams. Both are good matchups. Let's be real here. Both these defenses are in rough shape right now. Mahomes has Hopkins now, so that's like more appealing. I would you know what? I think the Rams are weaker to the run and intermediate passes like tight end. So I would say Mahomes. I think the Raiders secondary is in worse shape. Any thoughts there?
I think they're close. I can't believe I'm saying this. I can't believe
Yeah.
that we're comparing Mahomes with Darnold in any fashion.
Yeah.
I mean, I still would lean toward Mahomes just because he's just, he's still great. And I still trust Mahomes. He can go off at any time. And so I think I would give him a slight edge here.
Yeah. Running backs don't have brains to protect. Like so. Oh, how dare you say that about like Emmett Smith gave us such great analysis on TV. All right,
By the way, on the like the Mahomes Darnold question, it kind of points out my philosophy, and I know everyone has different philosophies. Like for me, if I have a particular player who I think is a great player in real football, like and I have him on my bench, and then he like totally goes off. It just drives me crazy. Like I can't handle it. I just get told I'm like full tilt. Like I'm just so like if Mahomes is on my bench and like he has like 5 touchdown game, it'll just drive me crazy. But like if Darnold's on my bench and he has a 5 touchdown game, I'm like, okay, that's a bummer that I missed out. But like whatever, he's Darnold. Like I'm not tilted. So like I just don't want to be tilted. So I have to go with Mahomes. And like that's my general way of who do I start is like who's gonna make me more tilted if they go off my bench.
Yeah. But Mahomes hasn't played well this year, though. Like that's the problem. I have in that league.
But if he does, I'll be full tilt.
Yeah, in that league I shared with you. Remember, I was the highest scoring team in the league. Still the highest scoring team in the league. I finally won last week. I'm 2-5. I had the highest scoring team in the league. I could share that with you guys again. My quarterback is Mahomes, and I picked up Caleb Williams for Mahomes' bye, and I'm going to play Caleb Williams over Mahomes. I think this week. Just because Washington defense not good. I like Williams over Mahomes. As crazy as it sounds.
No, you might be right. You might be. I mean, yeah, I don't think you're crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just me. I get tilted easily about those. That just tilts me.
Yeah. Tell us the Mahomes Kermit the Frog Raiders story, please. Yeah, that's Evan Daniel brought that up yesterday. Apparently, the Raiders had this like Kermit the Frog puppet that they like voiced as Patrick Mahomes, and Mahomes found out about it, and they like the media asked him about it, and he's like, well, I'll take care of it in time. So I feel like he's gonna maybe I should start Mahomes just based on that.
Because Mahomes could at any time just throw 5 touchdown passes. Like,
oh yeah,
I mean the Chiefs are so much in just like in playoff mode. They're just like stay healthy, don't give it all, just get to the playoffs. And then we turn it up then. Like we saw that last year with Kelsey, right?
Yep, that's what they did exactly. Yeah. I think D-Hop will make Mahomes the top 10 quarterback again. Maybe, but the thing is, like, he won't know the playbook this week.
It's not like Hopkins has been amazing either.
Yeah,
I mean, he's been okay.
He's 32. And
he's been playing with Will Levis. So I mean, maybe that's part of it.
Yeah, it's been a while for Hopkins, huh? That he's a good quarterback. Let's see. Drop McPherson for Dicker or Lutz. It's not the right place for kicker questions. I just let's be real here. The thing is, like, Dicker is going to be playing in a dome, so I would go with him. That's the best I could do. That's my.
I look at over and unders. I look at the totals. I want the highest total games possible. Home team in a dome. Like those are the ideal scenarios. Obviously, you can't always get those, but that's what I'm typically looking for.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, about this game, Rams 20, Raiders 15. Every single point the Rams scored in this game came off Gardner Minshew turnovers. Every single one. The Rams offense did nothing outside of like Kyren Williams scoring twice off those turnovers. But that's basically what their whole offense was. But the good news is for the Rams, Cooper Kupp's coming back this week. He has no injury designation, so he will be back first time since week 2. And Puka Nacua is questionable heading into this game with limited practices. I don't think he will play on Thursday, but I definitely assume that he's going to be playing in week 9. And so I just did a draft tonight, best ball. I took Puka Nacua in the 5th round. I couldn't believe he was there. Like he's only going to be out one more week, and he's already his bye. So like this is basically like his bye week, you know. So I like that call, especially if Cooper Kupp's can be traded, which sounds like he might be. And I like Cooper Kupp in this game coming up. Feels like the Rams are going to showcase him for a trade. Feels like they're going to target him on like almost every play. So I like Cooper Kupp Thursday night if you're playing DFS. For the Raiders, not much to say. Madison is productive only because he's getting a lot of volume and he's better than Zamir White. But let's face it, everyone's better than Zamir White. Brock Bowers is the only like really real pass catcher here. 10 for 93. He's only has 1 touchdown in the year. That's the only downside you could say with him, but that's not his fault. It's the Raider quarterbacks here. Just imagine if he were playing with a good quarterback, like what he would be doing right now. Bowers is incredible. And by the way, it's National Tight Ends Day coming up on Sunday. So get if you're playing DFS, get 2 tight ends in your lineup. So any thoughts here?
I don't care what the holiday is. I don't want 2 tight ends in my lineup.
It's the only day I'll do it. It's the only time.
Alexander Madison looks like a real thing. You know, for a while I thought this is not going to last. They're going to get that rookie Lauby in there, or they're going to get someone else. I don't know, but it looks like it might actually last. So yeah, maybe that's worth investigating. If Madison's available in your league, maybe he's worthy of a flex. He's probably not available in leagues, I would imagine, though, right? I don't know what his percentage ownership is, but
probably not.
Yeah. And Matthew Stafford, maybe this is his last game as a Ram. Maybe he'll be traded to the Vikings.
It will be if Stafford's traded for Darnold, like they could just switch planes going home. It's pretty funny how that works. But yeah, no, it's kind of crazy. Yes, Matthias says check team's red zone defense for kicker. Yes, that's a good thing too. I would say take a favorite who is playing against a team with a good red zone defense. I would say that's probably the winning strategy. Dicker and Lutz sounds like a law firm porn movie. I like that call. All right, next game. So Redskins 40, Panthers 7. You would like looking at the score. If someone just looked at the score without looking at what happened in the box score or watched the game, they'd be like, "Wow, Jane Daniels, what he scored like 5 touchdowns." And I had a DFS lineup that was going great. I had Saquon Barkley in it. I had like other good players, and I was looking great because I was in the money. And I had my stack left. I had Jane Daniels with Terry McLaurin and Brian Robinson. I was like, man, this is gonna be awesome. I might win this thing. Of course, Daniels gets he throws 2 passes, then he gets hurt. I said this yesterday. I bet on every single quarterback who got injured. I had 3 units on Tyler Huntley. He got hurt. I had 4 units or 3 units on Aidan O'Connell. He got hurt. And I had 4 units on Deshaun Watson. He got hurt. And okay, what about Jane Daniels? I had him in my DFS lineup, and I was going to win money if he just had an average game. So I did not cash, by the way.
There's some karma there. I don't even believe in karma like that, but there's some karma there. Here's why. That's a lot of bets on bad quarterbacks, bro. Like, what do you like? Come on, man. There's a lot of bad quarterbacks there.
Yeah, but
Daniels is good, but the other guys, those are some schleps.
But all right, well, the Raiders covered, right? The Dolphins would have covered if Huntley didn't go down because they lost by 6 with Huntley being injured. You know, I think they would have covered with Huntley. You could argue Browns, maybe not, but it was a 7-6 game at halftime. And Watson was 12 of 15, as we said. So I don't know. It's bad quarterbacks going against bad defenses, though, and yeah. I think that
those are bad quarterbacks. So you're a risky man. You're a risk taker.
Yes, I am. As far as this game, Marcus Mariota was 18 of 23, 205, 2 touchdowns. Maybe he's finally coming into his own. No, just kidding. He's not. Brian Thomas looked great. McLaurin. So I was tilted here because I had the McLaurin over receiving yards prop, and I was like, oh, there's no way he's hitting now. And he actually got there. He got 6 for 98. Still didn't catch a touchdown, and but still like a decent game considering Mariota. As far as the Panthers are concerned, Bryce Young will start in the game coming up against Denver's defense. Good luck, because Andy Dalton got into a car accident, so that could be a disaster. I don't know. I'm definitely not going to be betting Bryce Young. Don't worry, people. Chuba Hubbard, I think probably his last good game because teams are going to be able to stack the box against him, so it's pretty sad. Jatavian Sanders, the only player the Panthers had with more than 17 receiving yards. So 6 for 61. Like, people liked him coming out. He's an athletic player. I think he has a future. Unfortunately, he's going to be catching passes from Bryce Young, so it's hard to be excited. But 2025 and beyond, when the Panthers have a real quarterback, maybe Jatavian Sanders turns into something. So someone to target late rounds in fantasy next year. Any thoughts here?
No, I think you said everything good here. Zach Ertz, I think, was really involved in the game early on. So, that four catches for 40 yards and a touchdown, like, that was legitimate. Like, those are quality targets. Like, it looked good. And also we had a Miles Sanders sighting, 3 carries for 34 yards with one long 26-yard run. Miles Sanders, man. So I think this year he's getting paid. He's getting paid about $2 million per attempt right now. I think money well spent, Panthers. Money well spent.
Yeah, I couldn't believe when they made that signing, and just he lived up to that. All the criticism he got from us. By the way, Deontay Johnson, I feel like he has to be the next receiver traded after Cooper Kupp. He said he's not re-signing with the team. He's not under contract after this year. Like, why not trade him? Because why would they keep him at this point? So I think that he could go somewhere. I don't know where exactly. Maybe Tampa, because they lost Evans and Godwin. Evans will come back week 11. Godwin's gone. So
I'd love to see him in Detroit. I think his style of game, he super versatile, can play inside, outside, can stretch the field a little bit. I'd like to see him, take the Williams. If James Williams is going to be, inconsistent or phased out of the offense, like, I think it'd be fun to see him in that offense.
The Lions were looking at a receiver, and I can tell you that for sure into the 2024 NFL draft. But they were shocked that Terry Arnold fell to them, or they traded up a little bit, but they were shocked that they got Arnold. So, they are in the market for a receiver for sure. Sue says Saints Panthers tickets going for $22. Is that a real price? Because might be a little too much. They might have to give away the tickets for free at this point.
Yikes.
What's Johnson's price tag? 4th, 5th round. I'd say whatever the Chiefs gave up for Hopkins. I'll say that because he's only like a 2-month rental basically. Right. And what's Tepper driving the other car? Yeah, he wants to see his boy Bryce Young get another start. All right, Chiefs 28, 49ers 18. This was a 20. This was a blowout. The Niners scored late to make it a 10-point game, but it was pretty lopsided. But the Niners had so many injuries. Brandon Ayuk, Ayuk unfortunately tore his ACL. Deebo Samuel fighting pneumonia with fluid in his lungs. George Kittle picked up a sprained ankle late. It was not a high ankle sprain, so he might be able to play this week. And then Juwan Jennings was out. So you had so many injuries for the 49ers that they just couldn't keep up. The good news is, though, Christian McCaffrey is going to be back, it sounds like, after the week 9 bye. So this might be the last time we see Jordan Mason coming up in a starting role. And I think by week 10, they'll probably have everyone back except for Ayuk. So that's the bright side for the 49ers. But the downside is that they may not have anyone this upcoming week. As far as the Chiefs are concerned, Kareem Hunt, 2 touchdowns. Like, he's been awesome fantasy wise. He's not good in real life, but he just produces just because he's in that offense. But Pacheco's going to be back eventually. I think like week 11 or 12 was his. I think weeks 10 through 12 I think was his original timeline. So
as long as Hunt's in there, he's you got to start him, right?
Yep, absolutely. Kelsey, disappointment, 4 for 17, but it's a tough tight end matchup. Niners really good against tight ends. They're just so strong over the middle of the field with Fred Warner. Xavier Worthy was another disappointment. He had 8 targets, only 3 for 19. This guy's been a bust so far. But at least like when Rashee Rice was there, he was taking attention away from Rice. So maybe that'll be the same thing with Hopkins. People just worry about him. But at some point, teams have to be like, wait, Worthy's not really doing anything. He's just running wind sprints. So I don't know. At some point, teams are not going to be fooled by this. But anyway, what are your thoughts on this one?
You said the Niners are not good against tight end, but you didn't realize that I mean, you didn't mention that they totally gave up incredible yardage to right. World-class tight end Noah Gray. he caught, if I were to tell you, he caught 100% of his targets and had 10 fantasy points. I mean, come on. PPR fantasy points, that is, of course, if you play in silly PPR formats. But no, I'm just kidding. No, I mean, Noah Gray actually, like, if they're not going to have a receiver in this offense, like Noah Gray, I would have thought to myself, like, before they traded for Hopkins, like, I don't know, Noah Gray might be worthy of a flex consideration if you got injuries and bye weeks. Like, I don't know, throw him in there. You never know. But now that they got Hopkins, it can go away, right?
Yeah, I was drafting him as my third tight end in best ball, just because he already had he already had his bye and everything like that. And I'm like, why not? Especially if Kelsey goes injured, like suddenly you have like a legit guy. And you need 3 quarterbacks and 3 tight ends whenever you draft best ball, because like what if your other 2 guys get injured and you only have if you only have 2 tight ends and they both get injured, or if one's out and one's on a bye, you get a 0. Like you need at least 3 of every position. So he was like my third guy, but not anymore. I agree with you. Like Hopkins hurts his value for sure. Saints Panthers November 3rd. They should flex that game for Walt's Ukraine game. There you go. Ship it overseas. Started at 7 a.m. Eastern, 4 a.m. Pacific on Lifetime. I think that would be pretty great. Okay, I've London Reek. Reek. I love the Game of Thrones reference. London Reek, Brian Thomas Jr., Henry Hunt, Tua Kraft starting right now. Should I start Hunter Henry, Mayfield, or James Conner over any of them? 10.
Who's Reek? Wait a minute, I'm so confused.
It's Theon Greyjoy, of course. I assume it's Tyreek Hill. But it's either Tyreek Hill or Theon Greyjoy. Yeah, so take your pick.
I didn't realize that Iron Isles has representatives in the NFL.
Yeah.
Well, by the way, if I'm taking this over the Iron Isles, I'm drafting Yara. I
was about to say. Or from the show, yes. From the books, Victorian Greyjoy, absolutely. Anyway, I think you should start James Conner. I think he's great right now, and I love him the rest of the season, especially in the playoffs. So I would say over. I kind of guess it's just such a good matchup, though. Yeah, I mean the Dolphins are pretty weak against the run, so I like. I do want Connor in there, and I think it would be for Hunt. As good as he's been fantasy wise, like he's just not good in real life. Like Connor's much better in real life. So any thoughts there?
I have a tough time benching Kareem Hunt right now. Connor's playing the best football of his career probably right now.
Yeah.
And he leads all running backs in forced fumbles, so that's pretty good. So you see that this week, or he forced the fumble after interception. That was great.
Yeah,
but you might be. Yeah, I think it's close though. I think this kind of goes back to what I said earlier. It kind of maybe depends on what you need. I think Hunt maybe has more upside because of the offense, because of Mahomes. Like, they're a better team. Hunt could be in the red zone 2 or 3 times. I think he's got more higher upside, but Hunt could also get a total goose egg, right? Like he could easily score no touchdowns and no receiving yards. And in that case, he's a total, bum for you. So I think it depends on what you need. If you want more solid security, I think James Conner might be more safe. I think Hunt's got more upside though.
Okay. Interesting. Did Tyreek Hill's career just turn to season 7 of Game of Thrones? Yeah, he's running. He's running.
Season 8. I think it's season 8. I think it's worse than 7.
Okay, I was about to say he's running wind sprints back to the wall in Gendry style, like the world record, but like he's not getting any production out of it. It might be season 8 though. It's either one was awful. Season 8 much worse, but season 7 was truly brutal too. Happy PR. I've got Chase, Flowers, Reed, Wilson, Johnson. I assume Deontay Johnson, Hopkins, J-Mo. Well, J-Mo might be suspended. With Jacobs, Mixon, Chuba as my running backs, what receivers do I trade for a running back to pad my running back depth? Which receivers do I trade? I probably Deontay Johnson because Bryce Young's going to be starting. Like I don't trust him at all. I don't trust anyone with Bryce Young. I think you can get something from Hopkins too. Like Hopkins is 32. And like Kenny said, like he hasn't been playing well. And it might take him a little bit to learn the playbook. So I think you could package Johnson and Hopkins together to get someone.
I think Hopkins right now is at his highest value is going to be.
Agreed.
Like,
yep.
I think there's someone in your league that's going to say, "Oh, he's with Mahomes now. It's going to be great." Like,
yep.
I think this is the time to sell high on Hopkins if you could. Yeah, so I agree with you. If you could package Hopkins and another receiver, yeah. Although like if you're starting two running backs, like obviously you want another running back if you can, particularly if Chuba's not going to be as valuable for us going down a stretch.
Mm-hmm.
Jacob and Mixon are good, so like it's not like you're going to sit those guys a lot, right? Like, so yeah, I don't know. Maybe unless you can get like Hopkins and Jacobs for like Saquon or something, like you'd have to make I don't know. I'm not sure you're going to be able to make a trade that's going to really change unless you're just trading for running back depth at that point.
You know what Hopkins is right now is that it's like it's the box phenomenon where I don't know if you watch Family Guy, which I think is an overrated show, but it is funny sometimes. Where Peter Griffin, the main character, he's on a game show and he wins the choice of either a boat or a box, and he goes like his family's like, take the boat. And he's like no, I'm gonna go with the box. They're like, why? He's like, why? There could be anything in this box, even a boat. And so I think it's the same thing with Hopkins. Like it's this mystery box where you just don't know what you're getting, and it's like the upside. Like this could be anything, even Hopkins. Like I feel like it's going to be a disappointment. I don't think it's going to be a total failure. Like I still like the trade. I gave it an A+ because it's only a 5th rounder unless it gets to the Super Bowl. But he's not the Hopkins of old. He's just not. He's 32. Yeah. He's past his prime. So. All right, let's get to the next game. We go to the Sunday night game now. Steelers 37, Jets 15. The Jets were up 15-6 once upon a time. Then Rodgers threw an interception. Then there was another interception that's Garrett Wilson's fault. And Russell Wilson looked like the Russell Wilson of old. He was throwing up like moon balls for grabs. It was unbelievable. Najee Harris ran for 102 yards and a touchdown. Pickens 5 for 11 in the touchdown. It's unbelievable. I don't know what happened to the Jets. They just like gave up by the end. Nothing good for the Jets here except for Breece Hall's receiving yardage, 103. We had Breece Hall over 25.5 receiving yards. He quadrupled that. Just should have ladder that as a mistake not to do that. But as Cam Newton said, hindsight's 50-50. Devontae Adams had Calvin Ridley production, 9 targets, only 3 catches. What are you laughing at?
Hindsight's 50-50.
Yes, as Cam Newton once said, yeah.
I never heard that one.
You never heard him say that, really?
No,
half the time there's hindsight, half the time there's not hindsight. Yeah. So
I know it was so good. I never. Okay, continue. Sorry, I just totally interrupted you. That was so good.
Yeah. That's Cam Newton said it at a press conference. Hindsight's 50-50.
Hindsight's 50-50. That's got to be one of the dumbest things ever said by an NFL player.
You know, I should make that a shirt on the merch there. Hindsight's 50-50. Cam Newton.
Oh god.
I should definitely do that. Anyway, I think I was done. Devontae Adams, Calvin Ridley type production. Same exact production, 9 targets, 3 catches. So he still has to. It's weird. He has to gel with Rodgers, but I guess so. Any thoughts here?
This Jets offense is broken, and I don't. they've got way too much talent. They should not be this bad. This is terrible. They're just they can't convert on third downs. They're not clutch. Aaron Rodgers looks miserable. Like he's just, I don't know, man. He's 80% of what he once was, but that still should be good enough. I don't know. I watch this team. I don't get it. I don't know what's on. I don't know what to make of it. The one thing on the Pittsburgh Steelers side that I would say that I loved is George Pickens finally looked like an NFL player. We've been saying it, like we love him, right? We think he's great. John Sanders says sell high on Pickens, or is it sustainable? I think it's sell high. It breaks my heart because I love Pickens. I think he's a great player who's just totally been derailed by bad quarterback play and terrible coaching philosophy. But I wonder if you could sell high on Pickens and get some good stuff for him, it might be worth it.
Agreed. I would sell high. He's not going to come down with all these balls all the time. Like he's going to have some good games. He's going to have better results with Wilson, but it's 5 for 11 and a touchdown. You're just not going to get that all the time. So I would sell high. All right. We had 2 Monday night games. Ravens 41, Buccaneers 31. The Buccaneers are up 7-0 and 10-7. And then Mike Evans gets hurt. The Buccaneers can't score again until the very end, where they just get like some garbage time points. They actually almost covered the spread. If they recovered the onside kick one more time, like they would have had a chance to cover the spread. Unfortunately, they did not. But if you look at all the Buccaneers stats, like it's all outrageous, like garbage time stuff. Mayfield 370, 3 touchdowns, like all that was garbage time except for the 1 touchdown. K. Dotton 8 for 100. Baltimore can't cover tight ends, but still, like that's still garbage time. Rashad White, garbage time. Chris Godwin was some garbage time. He was actually doing not much. And then he got injured. Unfortunately, he hurt his ankle, so he's going to be out for the rest of the year. Evans is going to be out till week 11. So I'm going to ask you this after I talk about Baltimore. Who would you rather have between Trey Palmer, Jalen McMillan, or Sterling Shepard? But as far as Baltimore was concerned, we had Zay Flowers over receiving yards. He got hurt in the first quarter, so that kind of sucked. And then Rashad Bateman handled most of the production. I would not read anything into that. Bateman's just not that good of a player. Henry, of course, had a long run. Lamar Jackson, 5 touchdowns. He's the other. There's 3 MVP candidates. There's Mahomes, Jackson, and Jared Goff. So any thoughts on this game? Plus, my question: of all the Buccaneer receivers, who would you rather have, Palmer, McMillan, or Shepard, or maybe someone else?
I think the answer is McMillan. When I watch, I haven't seen a lot of play, but I just feel like, I think he's a better player. I think he's the more talented player of the bunch, and he was well a part of the offense before the injuries, right? I mean, he has 8 targets in the game, only 3 catches, but he's clearly a part of the offensive game plan, where you can't say the same about Shepard or Palmer. Now Palmer had a good had some good games last year when he was was throwing the action. So I would imagine, but I think McMillan is. I actually picked him up in our league. I think he was my second waiver claim, second highest priority waiver claim, only behind, of course, Jawan Jennings. And so, I think McMillan's the guy. Interesting. McMillan is only owned in like 31% of ESPN leagues and like 25% of Yahoo leagues. Like he's not owned anywhere. Like there's probably a lot of people here. I think he's worth going after. I wouldn't start him immediately unless you're desperate. But I think he's a better analog for Godwin.
Yeah, I think so. PFF has given him the lowest grade of all the 3, but I still think he's going to have the most opportunities. So I'm not incredibly bullish on either and any of them. I think it might be like a Cleveland situation where K. Dotton becomes the number 1 receiver, at least until Evans comes back. So I do like Dotton, but I don't expect Mayfield's great season to continue. He's currently he's QB2 in terms of points per game for quarterbacks. And it's not going to last. If you have Mayfield in fantasy, my condolences, because that's not going to continue.
Yeah. On the Baltimore Ravens side, I made there were 2 hot takes I had this summer. So if I'm going to take some victory laps on the good ones, I gotta own the bad ones. My bad ones were, I said Zay Flowers was going to take the next step and flirt with being a wide receiver 1. That has not panned out.
Oh no! Wait a second. No, Flowers has been great this year. I think. Let's pull up his box scores. I think Flowers has been. I think he's been really good. But don't look into this game because he got hurt in the first quarter.
Yeah, I mean he's the 27th best receiver off the board, and he's had 2 great games and a bunch of average games.
Well, look, I think you have to ignore this and this because they ran so much. This like Jackson threw 15 times and 18 times. So if you take these 2 games out, so he started 6 for 37, not great, but then he had 7 for 91 and a touchdown. So that's one really good game. He had 7 for 111 and then 9 for 132. And then he got injured in this game. So like I feel like I think you're right on point in this one. I think Zay Flowers is really good. He just has some bad luck with like run heavy scripts in weeks 3 and 4, and then the injury in this game.
I guess I'm baking in the run heavy scripts. Like,
okay, all right, fair enough.
I don't. A guy who's my second receiver on my team, I don't want him getting in the situation where he's getting in the run. I want him getting targets at every game, and I thought that was going to happen. I thought that this. Well, and the reason is because my other hot take that I was wrong about was I thought Derrick Henry was cooked and would be done, and I thought they were not going to be productive, and they were going to turn into a pass heavy team. And I thought they were, I thought they might be behind in some games and they'd be throw more. Like all of that led me to think that Derrick Henry was going to suck and Zay Flowers was going to be awesome. And I think I was wrong on those 2. So yeah, Zay Flowers, he's the 27th best receiver in standard. I don't know what he is in PPR, but PPR is lame. And so yeah, I guess 27th is not terrible considering he's had some injuries this year, but I guess in my mind, I thought literally he would be like taking the next step to being, borderline wide receiver 1, top 15 type guy.
I think he's top 15. Like for rest of the season, I think I would take him as a top 15 receiver.
Okay, that's encouraging.
Yeah, assuming he's healthy with his ankle, I don't know. But with Henry, where would you draft Henry right now, the rest of the season?
I mean, he's a late first round pick.
Okay, he's number 2 ADP in best ball.
That feels high. That feels very high to me.
Yeah, I've been
PPR especially.
Yeah, I would draft AJ Brown over him. I would draft Justin Jefferson over him. Barkley obviously number 1, and then I would draft Amon-Ra St. Brown over him because St. Brown's has bye. And then I think I would draft Chase over him as well. So those 5 for sure. And then I would start to think about it at number 6.
Okay. Yeah. That's probably the 8 to 12. I've also always been predisposed to hate Derrick Henry's game. So
yeah, it feels like he's gonna wear down at the end of the year. I think that's he's an older player. Like, how long can this continue? I don't see it.
I thought he was cooked at the end of last year. So I mean
Tennessee thought he was too. They were giving Spears touches over him.
Yeah. So I thought he would suck. I drafted Keaton Mitchell, Keaton Mitchell, right? That's the
yes.
I drafted Keaton Mitchell in some leagues. I don't think so. I'm just, I thought he was done. I didn't draft him. I was way down on him. I think he was wrong. Derrick Henry has paid off for his draft position.
Yeah. No, he certainly has. You're not alone. I was down on him too. Who should I start? My 2 flex, full PPR. Judy. No Judy. Javonte Williams, Rashad White, Kincaid, Chubb, or Jake Ferguson. So yeah, like I said, no Judy. Chubb, no Chubb. He's not healthy yet. So I would think Javonte Williams and Rashad White is going to be helped by these receiver injuries. He's going to be catching a lot of passes. Go ahead.
Sorry, I thought you were done.
I was going to say Javonte and Rashad, but what do you think?
Yeah, I always lean toward the running backs, even in PPR, and so unless there's a clear gap there, I think Javonte and Rashad White are probably the best bets there. You can't go with a tight end on your flex unless it's a phenomenal tight end, because tight ends just are so game script dependent most of the time.
Yeah,
there's so many things that can go wrong for tight ends. I never like starting a tight end on my flex unless it's a elite guy.
Yeah, agreed. Should I trade Adams and White for Achane? Is that
Rashad White?
Rashad White and Devontae Adams for Achane? Yeah, I don't like Rashad White. And Adams, who knows what's going on there? Yeah, it's okay. I think you can do
Depends
it.
on your roster.
Yeah. If you can afford to get rid of receiving depth, then yes. If you have a ton of good receivers, then sure. If you're hurting a receiving depth, then no. So that's what I say.
I mean, I don't love any of those three players right in the situation right now. I mean, Devontae Adams could be great, but the Jets are broken, and I don't like Devon Achane right now. Like the Miami Dolphins offense is so broken that it's hard to know if he's going to be reliable down the stretch.
Yeah, but if I said rather Mike Williams than Flowers, I don't agree with that at all.
Yeah,
like for football, or like are they playing like backgammon or something? Mike Williams could be a great backgammon player. I don't know.
he could be. My wife's a great backgammon player.
There you go.
Fantastic. She beats me all the time.
There you go. So anyway, the last game. Cardinals 17, Chargers 15. But like the Chargers just couldn't get anything going, and it's like, yeah, they could. Justin Herbert was like to Will Disley, and Lavin Conkey picked up an injury. Semi Fahoku, Jalen Reagor fumbled into the end zone. It's ridiculous. So I was very shocking to me. It was J.K. Dobbins, only 14 for 40. Arizona just won in the trenches, which they hadn't done all year. Like Arizona's been weak to the run, and for some reason they were just ferocious against the run. I don't know what happened. But McBride got there. We had his over receiving yards, which is nice. Marvin Harrison Jr., we discussed him already. He's been struggling. I guess is a buy low. Like this is probably the lowest you could probably ever get him. Like who knows? Maybe second half of the year he does well. I wouldn't count on it, but like you could probably get him like very cheaply right now from an owner who doesn't like him at all. And like if you're bullish on him, then yeah, I think you should do it. But I'm saying I'm not. But if you are bullish on him, then I think right now is the time to get him.
Right.
And then I love Connor. I talked about his fantasy schedule for the playoffs already. Just try to trade for Connor. His fantasy playoff schedule is so easy. Anyway, any thoughts on this game?
The Arizona Cardinals, like a lot of things went right for them in this game. Like a lot of players in this team played well. There was a lot of good moments for them. Even the one turnover, they got it back, within 2 seconds because James Conner knocks the ball. I mean, like it's a really great game for them, and yet they still barely beat a team that's struggling to find their identity. Like that just this doesn't bode well for the Cardinals' like success the rest of the year. I was more bullish on this team, and like now I'm like, other than Connor, I'm not sure that any of the receiving options are going to be all that reliable, including McBride. He's a great player, but I just all these guys are going to be inconsistent. Michael Wilson, Marvin Harrison, like honestly, like if you spent a high second round pick on Harrison, you shouldn't have done that, but you're stuck with him. Like at the end of the day, like none of these guys are reliable. Murray's not reliable. Connor's the only one reliable. So yeah, Will Disley, it's for Gazy. Don't chase that. Like it's not real. None of these guys are good. By the way, Jalen Reagor,
unbelievable.
In the play where he catches the ball, as the ball is traveling to him, in that moment, I did not know that Reagor was on the Chargers roster.
I didn't know either.
And then he caught the ball, and I thought to myself, oh, I don't know who that is. And then I'm like, oh, it's Jalen Reagor. And I kid you not. I literally said to myself, when he was at about the 11-yard line, I was like, he's probably going to fumble the ball. And it popped out. I thought to myself, gosh, that was an amazing prophecy. You just I'm an oracle. It was like, what?
Oh my god! If only you could split second bet that live. Like, what would this play end up with? The fumble.
I literally thought to myself when he caught the ball, I'm like, that's Jalen Reagor. He's on the Chargers. I thought he was still on the Patriots.
That's.
I
was shocked too. I didn't know he was on the Chargers. I didn't know he was still in the league. So that's how bad the Chargers have gotten here. Quentin Johnson was out. Like Quentin Johnson's not a good player, but they really missed him. they could use him. But they could use a receiver. I talked about Deontay Johnson being traded. Why not to the Chargers? I think that would be a really good fit Justin Herbert needs some help. And Herbert finally looked over his injuries in this game. I thought he played pretty well. Like, considering what he was throwing to, like, he was throwing to, like, Stone Smart and Will Dissly and Semi Fahoku. Like, considering that, I thought he played a really good game, even though they lost.
I mean, like, he hit 39 pass attempts. He threw for over 300 yards. No major mistakes. You're like, how is there not? I mean, Will Dissly ends up being the beneficiary of this, but like, with his arm talent, how is there no one on the outside benefiting from like this game script, the way it went down? Like, Palmer gets 63 yards, like Loudon McConkey 40. Like, someone's got to benefit on the outside, right? Like, Will Dissly can't be your greatest pass catcher. Like,
no,
it's just what a terrible game script for the Chargers.
Yeah, that seriously, just trade for Deontay Johnson, give up the fifth or even a fourth. Try to get him, because the Chargers, they are 3-3. Like, they have a chance to do something here, but like, not with that receiving core. They're just not going to get anything done. It was more about Travis Jalen Rager to Ray McLeod. It's got to be Rager, I think.
Rager's been on multiple teams now.
Yeah,
rest of teams, I think.
Rest of season, Rager and Jahan Dotson.
As I used to say many years ago when I was on the Picks show, if you put a gun on my head and you make me buy it, you make me bet $1, then maybe I would go Dotson. But other than that, gosh, I don't want either one of those characters.
Yeah, well, it's $1.50 now with inflation.
Right. Hashtag Bidenomics.
Yes. Speaking of, Slew says I traded Harris, so Kamala Harris and Gavin Newsom today for Shapiro and Whitmer, 2028 Futures League. Yeah, I mean, Newsom is probably the top pick there, and then like I'd say Shapiro too, but like the whole Israel thing I think works against them. So
yeah, the Democrats hate Jews. Shapiro's never going to be the guy.
Yeah,
Whitmer, she. This was going to happen. The Republicans are going to win Michigan. They're going to win the Rust Belt, and Democrats are going to say, "Listen, we need someone from the Rust Belt." Whitmer's from Michigan. She's a pretty popular governor there, and she's a woman, and that's going to, that Newsom's a white guy. Like, he can't. The Democrats will never nominate another white guy for the rest of our lives. Like, it'll never happen unless he's gay. But a straight.
Buddha judge.
Yeah, I'm not being facetious when I say this. I'm not sure the Democrats will ever. Biden was the last straight white guy the Democrats will ever nominate in my lifetime. I'm just so convinced of that.
Yeah. I think you could be right. I do think Newsom's the favorite to be the nominee, just because he's the governor of California. But I do think that he'd pick Whitmer or a minority to be his VP. I think that's the way they could salvage it. Not that they need to, but that's their thought process. So with the 333 super chat, thank you so much, Slew. He says, over under when Trump reluctantly declared the winner. That's the question. Like, how long is it going to be until we know who the president is?
3 a.m. Wednesday night. It'll be before
really?
3 a.m.
Right away.
He's gonna. I think it'll be wrapped up. Like, I think most people will know by election day because there's so many people early voting. And the early voting numbers are just so strong in favor of Trump in North Carolina and Georgia. I think he will win one of the Rust Belt states on election night, either Wisconsin, Michigan, or Pennsylvania. Probably not Pennsylvania, won't be declared that night, but he will win one of the other two on election night, and that'll be enough. That'll be it.
Hope you're right.
We'll be going to bed early.
Well, not me. I'll always be up, but
that's a good point.
Yeah, we'll be doing an election show Tuesday, that election night. So I don't know if you're available. Hopefully you can come on. We already have the Omniferal said he will be on. I think
right. I'll see if I can make it.
Body Burner said he will be on. Hopefully you can make it as well. I'm going to invite everyone who's somewhat political that we had on the show. So it'll be a fun thing, which is a little tricky because Tuesday is usually our pick show. So maybe I'll try to work it in. I don't know if Evan's gonna be on. I don't know. I have no idea what Evan's politics are at all. So I don't know if he. I don't even know if he's a political guy or if he does or even cares. Some people just don't care, So I don't know. I don't know if
in America you're allowed not to care. That's beauty.
Yeah, exactly. Kamala Lee's having the McDonald's backup job. Well, she never worked at McDonald's apparently, so she can apply. try to work there. I don't know. I don't know if I'd hire, to be honest. Philadelphia would still be rolling in suitcases full of bouts. Yeah, that's true.
That's probably true.
That's how they do it.
Right, in 2020, they didn't. It wasn't announced till like Saturday, right?
It took a while, yeah, because I remember it was several days. Like people were wondering what was going to happen. So, if you're in the stock market, if it's not announced right away, the market will go down because of uncertainty. So, might want to consider some puts. Not that that's financial advice, but still, I think that's what happens when there's uncertainty. The market goes down. So that's what happened in the past. So, all right, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in, commenting, watching. Really appreciate it. Thanks especially to Slew, the 333 super chat. Really appreciate it. So it's how they keep the show going.
Man, Slew.
YouTube ads pay nothing. Like seriously, they pay nothing. So thank you so much. So, all right. So please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share this video. Visit the link in the description for the merch store. Kenny, do you want to plug anything? Maybe your site, thecapIsFake.com.
ThecapIsFake.com. Lots of old content. No, nothing brand new, but there's still some entertaining things on there. Feel free to find that. ThecapIsFake.com. Also, I'm interested, if we were to, what kind of fantasy content people care about. Me and Walt were talking about this earlier. Mm-hmm. If we produced more stuff, like, is a waiver wire video valuable? Anyway, so if people want to tweet at me, I'd be curious, what type of fantasy football content would people care to see other than the recap show?
Yeah, in addition to waiver wire pickups, that's like the most popular thing. If you guys can have any suggestions on short videos on what sort of fantasy football content you'd like to see, just definitely leave a comment here. Because we were talking about that before the show, so that would help us a lot. Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks again. I really appreciate it. We'll be back tomorrow with Andy, the great Andy Isco, after the Thursday night game. Hopefully you guys win all your bets. Whatever you bet on Thursday, go Edmonton Eskimos. Kenny, great doing this to you as always. Really looking forward to it. Rainmakers packs openings. Let's do it. Let's go. I have Andrew, 2 packs. Kenny, how many packs?
Too soon. It's too soon, Cassandra. Too soon.
Yeah, you're right. Anyway, all right, guys. Talk to you tomorrow, and have a good night.
You the man, Walt.